Welcome to the Getting Through Today podcast. I'm Brita. Come along with me as I share my story of the ups and downs through chronic illness and depression, all while being a mother of 5. I know healing is possible, and through every phase there is beauty, even if we don't always see it at the time. I know what it feels like to just get through one day at a time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Today's episode feels a little different. Honestly, I almost didn't record this. My voice feels low energy because I do have low energy. And usually I love coming on here to talk with you. Usually it really lifts me up. But today, even doing something I love feels hard. And I think that's part of what I needed to share. Because sometimes healing doesn't look like doing more. Sometimes it just looks like being honest about where we are, even when it feels uncomfortable. Today's episode is about honoring and nurturing our bodies, letting go of old expectations, and learning that strength can look like something completely different than we ever imagined. Let me update you on what's been happening lately. So a couple Saturdays ago, I was riding this incredible high because I completed 9 miles on my training program for training for my half marathon. And for me, after everything my body has been through, it honestly felt like a miracle. It felt like reclaiming this part of myself I had lost during the darkest, hardest seasons of my life. So I'd been training for this half marathon that's scheduled for June 7th. I've been following my plan that I printed out. I've been following it week after week, building strength. And building my strength slowly, I felt like I was really giving myself grace and not doing too much too fast. Feeling my endurance and confidence grow with each workout. Feeling more and more alive. And when I finished those 9 miles, I was so emotional. I even recorded a video, teary-eyed, celebrating the incredible feeling that I did it. I'm really doing this. And it wasn't just about the miles. It was about everything they represented. Years of chronic illness, major depression, feeling trapped in a body and mind that couldn't do what I wanted them to do. And now I was moving forward again. It felt like I was finally coming full circle. And I felt like completing this half marathon would complete this circle of health, almost closing this part of my life. But then life, in its humbling, honest way, showed up. In the days that followed me jogging that 9 miles, I started feeling more tired than usual. Of course, I just chalked it up to life because I have a full-time job. I'm taking care of my family. I'm seeing clients on the side, running everywhere for kids' activities. No wonder I'm tired. Of course I was tired, right? Of course it made sense. But things didn't get better. Instead, it got worse. Dragging mornings, the fatigue I couldn't shake, the kind of exhaustion where sleep doesn't help. Then the body aches started, not the I just ran 9 miles kind of soreness, which is the kind you almost enjoy. No. This was different. This was a deep, stiff, painful ache, a familiar ache, one that I hoped I'd never feel again. The kind where it's hard to move, hard to sleep, hard to even get comfortable. Almost feeling flu-like, but I knew I didn't have the flu. Then I had a weird rash on my arms, heart palpitations, headaches. I felt like my body was just so exhausted. And that sinking feeling I hadn't felt in a long time crept back in. I knew I overdid it. Could this be some kind of flare? Maybe Hashimoto's? Maybe Lyme? Oh my gosh, I shuddered even having those thoughts, knowing I couldn't go back to feeling like that again. My heart broke. All that excitement, all that progress. And now you're telling me my body is struggling again? I tried to shake it off, tell myself it would just pass. But deep down, I knew. I knew that this race wasn't meant to happen, that I couldn't keep this up. And admitting that to myself broke my heart in ways I didn't even expect. And not only was it hard for me to make that decision because I knew I couldn't push my body like this. Why did I think I could? I don't know. But one of the hardest parts came to telling my son. We had made plans to run this half marathon together. It was supposed to be this big, beautiful thing we did side by side. Of course, that's something I organized and wanted to do. And now I had to tell him that I couldn't. I'll be honest, I was embarrassed, even ashamed. I felt like I was letting myself down, and I felt like I was letting him down. And I worried he'd be disappointed and that maybe he wouldn't understand. But one night when we were at dinner, I just looked at all the kids and I just said, hey guys, that 9 miles I ran the other day, it was pretty hard on my body. And I've come to the decision that I just don't think I can run the half marathon. And I didn't expect to have all these emotions. I was trying to just say it lightheartedly, like no big deal, but I started crying. And my kids were so cute. My son just smiled and said, it's okay. I don't think I'll run without you. I don't think I want to do it alone. And then, of course, that made me feel bad. But then he said, it's okay. And Mom, I'm proud of you. Or he said something like that. Maybe not those exact words, but it was so cute. And then my daughter chimed in and then my daughter added, we're proud of you, Mom. Like the fact that you even ran 9 miles is awesome. And then I don't know word for word what they all said, but they were just encouraging me and lifting me up. And it was pretty sweet. Because I think in all my striving and pushing and all this progress, I was missing something important. That I didn't need to prove anything to them. I didn't need to prove anything to myself. I already had proven enough just by being me, by showing up, by loving them. But it hit me so hard because there's so many ways to show up for the people we love. Sure, running a race is one way, but so is laughing at the dinner table or crying at the dinner table. Allowing them to see the disappointment that I would usually hide, that was a big step for me. I feel like a lot of my journey, I tried to pull myself together and try to be happy. I'm sure they knew I wasn't happy and that I was struggling, but I always tried my best to hide the pain. And it really felt good to just cry and show them I was disappointed. And yes, it feels a little silly to be so disappointed about a race, but like I said, it's more than a race to me. But I know that simply just being present with them is what's important. I know all of this, but today I'm just disappointed and I'm sad and honestly kind of angry. But I know that our connection with people is not built on our achievements. It's built on love, and I can keep loving myself and them. I just might need a couple days to be sad and be angry, and then I'll move forward and be okay. And this week I was also talking to my sister, and I was telling her that I wasn't I'm not going to be able to run the half marathon. And she's always, when I told her I was running it, she was so supportive that I was, and she's excited for me. And she knew I was disappointed. And we were just kind of talking about the expectations we have for ourselves. And she just said, that's why I play pickleball now, because it's something she didn't grow up doing. And she said, it's nice because there's no expectations, because she didn't play when we were young. And so she doesn't have to try to live up to anything. She's just having fun. And when I heard her say that, it did make something click inside me, that I think it's time for me to change things up too. I don't know why I feel like there's this part of me that still wants to run, because that's the part of me that I liked. I felt strong, and there's this part of me that wants to get back to the old person I was. But maybe it's time to close the chapter on some of those expectations and activities tied to my old self. The self who needed to prove strength by running until she puked. The self who thought worthiness came from pushing and winning and conquering. Maybe it is time to explore new things. Things that aren't weighed down by old definitions of strength and success. Things that could feel a little bit lighter, more joyful, and more me now. It's hard to even know where to start. I keep wanting to do kickboxing, but I feel like that's a similar thing for me that I would get really competitive with, and I would push myself too far. But one thing, as I was thinking today, something that would be good for me and my yard would be to start working on my front yard, because honestly, my yard has looked a little bit abandoned for years. Okay, maybe a lot abandoned. Let's just say at Halloween, our house is already decorated without even trying. I've even joked about putting up a sign with a QR code in front of our house that says, "Chronically ill, donate to make our yard pretty." So yes, it needs some work. But what if instead of training for this race, that I spent time in the sunshine with my hands in the dirt, bringing back some beauty to our house that I love, this little farmhouse that has always been my dream? And what if working in my yard, I don't even want to say working, tending my yard, maybe it could be a new kind of therapy that's outside. Something a little slower, something grounding, and something that grows over time without any pressure or deadlines. As long as we can get the water and sprinkling system working so everything doesn't die in my yard like it has in the past. That's part of the reason why my yard has struggled. But my husband said he would help me get the water running so we can start making it look a little better out there. And it really sounds simple, but I really think that's what I need. That's what my soul needs. This new chapter, new dreams that doesn't include finish lines, no medals, just life, just joy, knowing that that's enough. Even sitting here recording this today, it feels strange. I will probably have an urge to re-record it when I'm feeling better, but I don't want to. I don't even know how this is going to sound. And there was a part of me that fought recording this at all. I wanted to go lay in bed and sleep and cry. But I figured I could cry on here as well, because I usually do. And it's hard when you don't want to do the things you usually love. It really can be scary. But it's real. And that's what I promised to do in this podcast from the beginning. I wanted to show up real and raw with some hopeful honesty. Not just when it's easy, not just when I'm feeling good, but especially when it's hard. And even though this might be a short episode today, because I am exhausted and I think I will go take a bath or do something to nurture myself. But today, beautiful warriors, I leave you with this. Strength is not about doing more. Sometimes it really is about choosing less. choosing joy over hustle, choosing presence over performance, choosing loving ourselves instead of trying to prove something to ourselves. If you're walking through a season where your body or soul feels tired, where maybe you feel embarrassed to slow down or even afraid to let go of old dreams, know that you're not alone. You're enough exactly as you are. And there are beautiful new chapters waiting for you if you're brave enough to turn the page. And I'm trying to get enough courage to start writing a new chapter. Thank you for walking with me today, because I don't plan to run anytime soon. Thank you for giving me the space to share my heart. Until next time, take gentle, beautiful care of you, because you deserve it, not for what you do, but for who you are.